Welcome, everyone. Today, we are diving right into a massive retail mystery that has absolutely taken Taiwan by storm. Imagine a regional Japanese grocery brand stepping into a fiercely competitive overseas market and just instantly becoming this unstoppable force. We're talking wraparound lines, shelves literally wiped clean, and a recent jaw-dropping corporate deal worth over 2 billion NTD. In this explainer, we're deconstructing the whole LOPIA phenomenon to figure out exactly how this retail miracle was engineered.
Here's our rune map for today. We're going to start with the fresh food dark horse, break down the secrets to their viral success, and then pull back the curtain on some hidden challenges. After that, we'll analyze that massive 2 billion NTD alliance, and finally, look at what this means for Taiwan's retail future.
All right, Section 1, the fresh food dark horse sweeping Taiwan, from local to legend. Now, to really grasp the sheer scale of what LOPIA has pulled off here, we kind of have to look at the massive contrast between who they are back home and their explosive new reputation abroad.
So, think about the number 20. Back in Japan, LOPIA is not the untouchable dominant national giant you might assume they are. Actually, they're ranked roughly 20th among national supermarkets. They operate mostly as a regional player with incredibly thin profit margins hovering right around 20%. They are scrappy, right? They've got a super young workforce with an average age of 30, and honestly, they're known way more for their sheer hustle than having unlimited corporate cash.
But flip the script over to Taiwan and check out this number, 3. In less than 3 years since stepping into the Taiwanese market in 2023, LOPIA skyrocketed straight into the top 3 of department store supermarkets. It's a staggering plot twist. When they opened their store in Kaohsiung's Hanshin Arena, it went absolutely viral. We are talking about one single location breaking 100 million NTD in revenue in its opening month alone. To put that in perspective, that is a number that usually takes other department store supermarkets an entire year to hit. Just wild.
So how did the local shoppers react? Well, they gave them this very catchy nickname, the Japanese Costco. And honestly, it hits the nail right on the head. Just like Costco, LOPIA draws these massive wraparound queues of people hunting for high-value bulk items, especially their premium imported meats. It got to the point where the general manager of LOPIA Taiwan was seeing so many people carrying Costco cooler bags that he literally designed LOPIA's own cooler bags to the exact same dimensions. He wanted to replace them on the streets of Taiwan.
Moving on to Section 2, deconstructing 3 keys to viral success, the secret sauce. Look, hype is one thing, but keeping those lines out the door takes brilliant operations. Let's break down the 3 core mechanics driving this crazy success.
Key number 1 is their whole cow integration. See, LOPIA actually started decades ago as a local butcher shop in Japan, and they really lean into that DNA. Instead of buying pre-cut, super expensive sections of beef, they import the entire cattle. They do the butchering entirely in-house, breaking it down into over 40 different cuts, which just plummets their costs. But here's the absolute genius part: zero waste. They take all the leftover scraps and render them into this highly coveted Wagyu cooking oil. It's cheap, it smells amazing, and it flies off the shelves. It gives shoppers that thrilling treasure hunt feeling.
The second key is a supply chain model that explains exactly how they keep prices so fiercely competitive. It's known as the SPA model. This is the exact same vertical integration strategy used by massive retail giants like Uniqlo or Nitori. LOPIA is literally out there acquiring food factories. We're talking soy sauce plants, ham factories, the whole shebang. By controlling the entire process from the production line all the way to the retail shelf, they cut out the middleman entirely. That protects their margins and lets them adapt instantly to whatever shoppers are craving.
And the third key? Their deli strategy. Traditionally in Taiwan, a supermarket deli sells standard bento boxes and local dishes. Their main competitor is the cheap night market right down the street, which means their margins are razor thin. But LOPIA entirely flipped the script. Their deli serves up premium sushi, authentic Hamburg steak, and grilled eel rice. They aren't competing with the night market. They are going head-to-head with expensive, sit-down Japanese restaurants. By strictly using Japanese-developed recipes and Japanese chefs, LOPIA took a traditionally low-margin counter and turned it into a massive cash cow, driving a whopping 20% of their total revenue.
But wait, every good explainer needs a plot twist, right? Section 3, hidden challenges to expansion, the plot twist. Because despite the roaring success and those massive lines, behind the scenes, LOPIA was dealing with some severe operational friction in Taiwan. Let's look at what was really going on.
Their biggest hurdle? They were trapped. To build that massive, everyday local foot traffic, LOPIA desperately wanted to open what we call street-level stores, independent storefronts right in residential neighborhoods.
But because they were a newcomer with practically zero initial brand recognition, they were forced to open inside high-end department stores. Now, they did use a clever tactic here. They leveraged their massive foot traffic to negotiate rent discounts, and then they passed those savings right back to the consumers to drop prices. Still, at the end of the day, department store rents are exorbitant, and being stuck in malls was severely capping their long-term growth.
Add to that a pretty brutal list of supply chain woes. Remember, this was LOPIA's first real overseas venture. They had very weak connections with local Taiwanese suppliers, plus their high import and shipping costs from Japan were eating right into their value promise. And perhaps most dramatically, there was intense, unspoken pressure and pushback from the established local supermarket giants. It was wild. At one point, local suppliers were actually terrified to sell to LOPIA. This left their shelves completely empty during their initial expansion. They were absolutely winning over the consumer, but they were losing the supply chain war.
So how do you solve a massive supply chain and real estate bottleneck? Simple. You bring in the biggest player in the game. Section 4, Unipresident's $2 billion alliance, the match made in heaven.
Boom! 2.05 billion NTD. That is the massive investment Taiwan's retail Goliath, Unipresident, just injected into LOPIA. And let me tell you, this sent absolute shockwaves through the entire retail industry.
When you look at it directly, you can see why this is just a match made in heaven. It perfectly solves the biggest headaches for both companies. LOPIA desperately needs street-level real estate access and massive localized supply chain power, so they never have to look at empty shelves again. On the flip side, Unipresident, who owns 7-Eleven, Carrefour, and Starbucks in Taiwan, has all the real estate and supply chain muscle in the world. But what Unipresident really needs is authentic Japanese retail DNA and a highly successful brand to replace their struggling high-end supermarket, Miyake's Bon.
And the way they structured this deal is just brilliant. To protect what makes LOPIA so special, they split the operations. Unipresident takes a 51% controlling stake on the retail and storefront side. That means they handle finding the locations, paying the rent, and building the physical stores. Meanwhile, LOPIA retains a 49% stake and runs a totally separate food processing and supply company. This ensures that the authentic Japanese food quality, the strict recipes, and that unique product sourcing aren't diluted by corporate bureaucracy. Essentially, Unipresident builds the stage and LOPIA provides the show.
You also have to appreciate the perfect timing of all this, especially with the fall of MIA Saban. That was Unipresident's European-style premium supermarket, formerly known as Jason's. You see, Taiwanese consumer tastes have aggressively shifted away from European imports, like expensive olive oils and cheeses, and moved heavily toward Japanese fresh food, Wagyu beef, and imported fruits. Unipresident had been quietly closing MIA Saban locations, and in many of those cases, LOPIA literally moved right into those exact vacant spots. Unipresident realized they couldn't beat the Japanese retail wave, so they simply bought into it.
So we've unpacked all the business mechanics. But what does this all actually mean for you? Let's dive into Section 5, Foreseeing Taiwan's Retail Future, and what it means for you. The general manager of LOPIA Taiwan posed this truly fascinating question. Will Taiwan copy Japan's post-bubble consumption model? Back in Japan, after their economic bubble burst, high inflation and a rising consciousness around health fundamentally changed how people ate. Instead of going out to expensive restaurants, Japanese office workers and families started stopping at high-quality supermarkets on their way home, grabbing premium deli takeout and eating it at home. LOPIA firmly believes that Taiwan's rising costs for eating out are triggering this exact same shift right now.
Because of that shift, we have some really exciting predictions for Taiwan's retail landscape over the next few years. First, expect a massive rise in premium supermarket takeout dinners. Also, with Unipresident's massive backing, you're going to start seeing standalone LOPIA street-level stores popping up right in your local neighborhood, no mall parking required. We'll likely also see shop-in-shop experiences. Just imagine walking into a mega 7-Eleven or a Carrefour and finding a dedicated LOPIA Wagyu counter inside. Ultimately, supermarkets are evolving into full life experience hubs. Picture picking out your Wagyu beef and then handing it to a dedicated barbecue station right next to the meat counter to cook it up for you.
Which leaves us with one final, provocative question to think about. If your local, everyday supermarket completely transforms into a premium, experiential Japanese deli, how will it fundamentally change the way you live, shop, and eat? The retail landscape in Taiwan is undergoing a massive revolution right before our eyes. And with this 2 billion NTD alliance, the wheels are officially in motion. Keep a close eye on your neighborhood corner. It might just be the next stop for this retail miracle. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep staying curious.